I never thought a normal Tuesday afternoon could change my entire life. I had just finished lunch, scrolling through my phone, when a thought crossed my mind, something that had been bothering me for weeks. My husband had been acting strange. He was always working late, taking mysterious phone calls, and disappearing without explanation. But tonight, I decided I wasn't going to ignore it anymore. I opened the GPS tracking app on my phone, hesitated for a second, then typed in the address I knew he had been going to. My hands shook, my heart raced. The pin showed him moving toward a location I didn't recognize. It wasn't his office. It wasn't the gym. My stomach dropped. I told myself to stay calm, that I was probably overreacting, but the knot in my chest told me otherwise. I could feel the tension building, the kind of tension you only feel when you suspect the worst, but hope desperately that it isn't true. I grabbed my keys and left the house, telling myself it was just a work-related check, though inside I knew this was anything but casual. The streets blurred as I drove, my mind racing faster than my car. I imagined the worst-case scenarios. What if he was meeting someone? What if everything I believed about our life was a lie? The thought alone made my hands grip the steering wheel tighter. When I arrived at the location, I parked a few blocks away to avoid being seen. I peeked through the car window, heart hammering, and froze. There he was, my husband, laughing, holding hands with a woman I had never met. My chest tightened, my vision blurred, and I couldn't breathe for a moment. The GPS hadn't lied. My gut had been screaming the truth for weeks, but I never wanted to accept it. I sat there for what felt like hours, watching them, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Every laugh, every casual touch felt like a dagger in my heart. How long had this been going on? The betrayal cut deeper than I could ever imagine. I felt tears welling up, but I refused to let them fall. Not here, not now. I had to see everything. I had to understand it before reacting. Eventually, they parted ways. I followed him at a safe distance, not wanting him to know I was tracking him. He drove to another location, a small cafe on the outskirts of town. I watched as he met with a group of people, laughing and chatting casually. Everything seemed normal on the surface, but I knew better. The double life, the lies, the deception, they were all too real. Back in my car, I finally allowed myself to cry, tears streaming down my face as the reality sank in. I felt anger, sadness, shock, and disbelief all at once. My marriage, the life I had built, the promises, everything, it felt shattered in a single afternoon. I took a deep breath, wiped my tears, and reminded myself that I needed to act smart. Reacting impulsively wouldn't solve anything. I needed proof, a plan, and the strength to face the truth. As I sat there, thinking, I realized I needed someone to talk to. Someone who could give me advice without judging me. I called my best friend, trying to sound normal, masking the panic in my voice. "Hey, can we meet? I really need to talk," I said. She sensed something was off immediately and agreed to come over. When she arrived, I broke down, recounting everything I had just witnessed. She held my hand and whispered, "You need to stay calm. Think clearly. Don't let anger make you do something you'll regret." Her words anchored me for a moment, but the fire of betrayal was still burning inside me. I knew I couldn't stay passive. Something had to be done. We sat in silence for a few minutes, the weight of the situation pressing down on both of us. I realized then that I had to take control, not out of spite, but for my own peace of mind. I couldn't let this deception define me. I had to confront it, but I had to do it smartly. The GPS had given me a glimpse into the truth, but the full story was still out there. Later that night, I stayed awake, planning my next move. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every notification from my phone made my heart jump. I knew that the confrontation would come soon, but I had to be prepared. I had to ensure that when I faced him, I had every detail, every fact lined up. I wasn't going to be blindsided. The morning came, and with it, a sense of determination. I wasn't just going to sit and wait. I had my proof, my plan, and my resolve. Today, I would begin the next chapter, one that would change everything. But before that, I wanted to tell you, yes, you watching this, if you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, you're not alone. And if you enjoy these real-life shocking stories, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Your support helps these stories reach those who need to hear them. The moment I saw him again, I knew nothing would ever be the same. I had spent hours rehearsing in my mind what I would say, how I would approach him. But now that he was in front of me, words seemed so fragile. I had proof, undeniable proof of his betrayal. Yet I wanted more than just confrontation. I needed him to understand the depth of the hurt, the magnitude of what he had done. I called him, pretending I wanted to discuss a routine matter. When he arrived, I invited him in, making sure there were no distractions, no witnesses. The tension was thick, almost suffocating. My heart pounded, my palms sweated, but my voice was calm, measured, steady, like a mask hiding the storm inside. "Have a seat," I said, gesturing toward the chair. He smiled, oblivious, that same careless smile that had once made me feel safe. Now it felt like a dagger twisting in my chest. "I know everything," I began, watching his reaction carefully. "I know about the meetings, the lies, the secrets you've been keeping." His smile faltered, confusion creeping in. "What are you talking about?" he asked, trying to play innocent. I leaned forward, my eyes locking with his. "Don't play games. I tracked your GPS. I saw where you were. I saw her. I know about every lie, every hidden conversation. I know who you've been spending your time with." For a moment, there was silence, the kind that presses against your ears and makes every heartbeat louder. Then came the denial, the weak excuses, the stammering. But I had anticipated all of it. I had every detail, every timestamp, every location saved. "Don't bother," I said sharply. "I've got it all." I didn't just sit and cry. I documented everything. My voice shook slightly, betraying the rage beneath my calm exterior. He looked away, guilt flickering across his face. That tiny moment of truth was the spark I needed. I continued, my voice rising. "I trusted you. I loved you. And this is how you repay me? By hiding a double life, deceiving me day after day?" The words hung in the room like smoke. He swallowed, knowing this confrontation wasn't just anger. It was power. I was in control, finally. Then came the twist I hadn't expected. As he opened his mouth to speak, my phone buzzed. I glanced at it. It was a message from an unknown number. My eyes widened as I read it. It wasn't just him. There were others. He wasn't alone in this. My heart sank further, and anger ignited into a roaring flame. "You're not the only one involved," I whispered, my voice almost trembling. "I know about everything. And now, it's not just about us. It's about exposing the truth. All of it." His face went pale. Panic replaced the casual arrogance he had worn so easily. He knew he was cornered. And finally, reality hit him. For the first time in years, I saw fear in his eyes. I stood, walking slowly around him, letting the tension build. I said, softly, almost cruelly, "I'm not going to let this slide. I won't be silent. I will expose every lie, every betrayal, every secret you thought you could hide." He tried to interrupt, but I raised my hand. "No, you listen. You realize how fragile your world really is, and how much power I have now that I know the truth." The room felt smaller, suffocating. I had never felt so alive, so aware of every heartbeat, every breath. I knew I had control, not just over the confrontation, but over my own life. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one shaping the narrative. Then, in the middle of this storm, a laugh escaped me. A bitter, cold laugh that surprised even me. "Do you know what's going to happen next?" I asked. His eyes widened. "Everyone you fooled, they will know. Every single person. And when they see the truth, they'll see the real you. The man who lied, who cheated, Who betrayed? His jaw tightened. He looked like he wanted to argue, but he knew there was no escape. The evidence, my composure, and the moral high ground. I had it all. I pulled out my phone and showed him screenshots, location logs, and timestamps. He tried to snatch it from my hand, but I held firm. This is it. This is everything. And now it's time for you to face the consequences. For the first time, I felt a sense of release. The anger, the betrayal, the hurt, it was all there, raw and powerful, but it fueled me. I knew what I had to do next. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my peace. And as he sat there, finally realizing the gravity of his actions, I took a deep breath. I knew I had to act carefully. The next steps would determine everything. The evidence I had, the story I was about to reveal, and the power I now held, it was all in my hands. If you're watching this and have ever felt betrayal, heartbreak, or shock, remember, knowledge is power. Stand strong, gather your evidence, and never let anyone undermine your worth. And hey, if you're enjoying this story and want more real-life shocking tales, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Your support helps these stories reach others who might be going through the same pain. The morning after the confrontation, I woke up with a sense of clarity I hadn't felt in months. The storm of emotions from yesterday, anger, heartbreak, shock, had shifted into something more focused. I knew what I had to do, and this time, it wouldn't be impulsive. It would be smart, calculated, and final. I started gathering everything I had: screenshots, GPS logs, messages, and even little details that seemed insignificant at first. Each piece fit into a puzzle, a story that would expose the full truth. I realized something important. Revenge wasn't about hurting him. It was about reclaiming my power, my life, and showing the world the truth. By mid-morning, I had a plan. I would confront him in front of the people who mattered, in front of those who trusted him blindly, and I would make sure that every lie, every betrayal, every secret he thought he could hide would be revealed. I invited a few close friends over under the guise of a casual brunch. He didn't suspect a thing. The tension in the air was thick, like electricity before a storm. I could feel my pulse in my temples, a reminder of just how much was riding on this moment. When he arrived, he was calm, too calm, but I had rehearsed everything. I waited until the right moment, then started laying out the evidence. First, the GPS logs, then the secret messages, and finally, photos and recordings that left nothing to interpretation. Every piece hit like a hammer. His face changed from casual confidence to confusion, then guilt, and finally sheer panic. "What is this?" he stammered, his voice shaky. "This," I said, holding up my phone, "is everything. Every lie, every betrayal, every secret you thought you could keep hidden, and now everyone here knows the truth." The room went silent. Friends who had known us for years were shocked, whispering among themselves. I could see their expressions shift, some disbelief, some anger, and some pity. But in that moment, I felt a strange calm. I wasn't just exposing him, I was freeing myself. I looked him in the eyes and said, "You've hurt me deeply, but you won't get away with it. I trusted you, and you betrayed that trust. This is your moment to face the consequences." His attempt at excuses fell flat. No one was buying it. Every word, every alibi, every feeble excuse crumbled under the weight of proof. And in that instant, I realized the power had shifted. I was no longer the hurt spouse hiding in silence. I was the one controlling the narrative, the one telling the story, the one standing tall while he faltered. After the initial shock, I turned to the people around us and calmly explained everything. The story unfolded in detail, and I could see the disbelief and empathy on their faces. They realized the depth of the deception, and slowly a collective understanding and support for me emerged. He tried to leave, muttering apologies and promises, but I stopped him. No, not today, not ever. Actions have consequences, and you will face them. His attempt at excuses fell flat. No one was buying it. Every word, every alibi, every feeble excuse crumbled under the weight of proof. And in that instant, I realized the power had shifted. I was no longer the hurt spouse hiding in silence. I was the one controlling the narrative, the one telling the story, the one standing tall while he faltered. After the initial shock, I turned to the people around us and calmly explained everything. The story unfolded in detail, and I could see the disbelief and empathy on their faces. They realized the depth of the deception, and slowly a collective understanding and support for me emerged. He tried to leave, muttering apologies and promises, but I stopped him. No, not today, not ever. Actions have consequences, and you will face them. My voice was firm, unwavering. Later, after he left, I sat down with my best friend and reflected on everything. The pain was still there, yes, but so was a sense of empowerment. I realized that betrayal, no matter how deep, could be overcome with clarity, planning, and courage. I had turned heartbreak into strength, chaos into control. I also understood the value of vigilance. Trust is precious, but proof and awareness are priceless. Life had taught me a hard lesson, but one I would never forget. By evening, I posted my story on social media, not to shame, but to share my experience, warn others, and empower those who might be going through similar heartbreak. The responses were overwhelming. Messages of support, empathy, and solidarity poured in. People related to my story, and it reminded me that even in pain, connection and resilience could flourish. As I closed my phone, I felt a sense of peace. The storm had passed, the betrayal was exposed. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, and my voice. And most importantly, I knew that no one could ever diminish my strength again. If you're watching this, remember, never ignore the signs. Stand up for yourself, gather proof, and face challenges with courage. And if you loved this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts. Your engagement helps real-life stories like mine reach those who need it most. This was more than just a story of betrayal. It was a story of empowerment, resilience, and reclaiming your life when everything seems broken.